All right, so does everyone have their roles?
Oh, and then
Yes,
the
Michelle.
runner can only say yes or no to the viewers or the builders.
To the builders.
Okay.
Okay, so everyone have their roles?
And no writing, right? You can't write anything down. Or take pictures.
You cannot take pictures. I guess you could write. Yeah, you just can't take a picture. You could write something if you want to show something. Yeah, that's fine. Okay, so let's see. So one builder from each group is going to grab a stack of materials. These are the things that we're going to use to build, to replicate this object. And then all the viewers and all the runners are going to come with me.
Ask good questions.
Yes.
You're the builder.
This is it.
The viewer.
Yeah.
We supposed to.
This is what we
Where to build it.
He's the viewer. The viewer is
That team losers.
So let's predict.
I
guess we can ask like what's the
my understanding is the builder. So answer questions.
Yeah, so we have
All right, they already get the question. They already get the things.
Oh, I
Envelope.
just one of the things that we're
maybe the first thing to
we have
find
to
out
make
is
something, arrange something out of it.
whatever
that means.
Oh, they can't answer.
Yeah.
Was it like everything?
Yeah.
Everything
Like, is this
is
vertical or horizontal?
Yeah.
Training.
We can just like go, is this on the bottom, is this on the bottom?
Ask questions. Get information.
We can ask both of them different questions.
Oh, it is kind of negotiations.
Yeah, it's not a negotiation. You have to ask the right question. The other question you can ask. Because the number of questions are limited. Just 10 questions to get you that thing. So we always try to ask more aggressive instructions.
Professors here, we're doing a workshop or games.
Yeah, I don't know how complex it can really be.
Yeah, no, yeah, okay, we'll do. I was going to, but there's, we have 5 people in our group, but it's, there's a runner, there's a viewer, 2 runners, and then 2 buildings. So what happens is the viewer views something, an object.
You know what you guys should do? You should take one of our runners so that you
Form
can
your own.
participate.
You can, but, but there's one viewer, he or she will view an object, whatever that may be. You'll go to the runners, there's 2 runners that we have, and describe the object. The runners will come to us to build first, and we have to build what that original object was, but the runners can
You have to
answer yes or no. So
you
we'll ask
have to.
there's a website of standing or is it
Maybe.
whatever.
But they
We have
all
to ask
get the same
different questions that
What's the goal?
builds that original object. Unlimited, so you get to build it.
All right, your teammates are en route
You just learn about
to
like.
explain how to build this object. And if you win, or if you get done first, you get like a prize or something.
Oh.
Daniel will buy you M&Ms or things like this. Did you get with the team, Daniel? You just got here? So let's, what do we do
We
here?
explain, but
We explained them, but can it help us?
Okay, yeah.
Do this.
Yeah, Daniel, why don't you work with these two? And Marilyn, would you work with these two?
Why the tab each usually look better, like how you handle situations.
Yeah, the runners are coming in. Runners are coming in, I believe, so.
It gets you like really.
They didn't see it, they heard it described about the viewer.
Like 6 pages.
They don't know what that looks like, but they know the description from the viewer. The
We have to
viewer is
take
the
it
one
apart.
that saw it.
We don't.
So,
We have to unbend the paper
and
clip.
then tell the runner, describe it, whatever it may be. And then the runner, and then
Good, very good. Alright.
so we are figuring the first thing he establishes is 3D or a flat out attack.
We have to
Could be it.
open
Yes,
One more time, that's what could be.
yes.
Yeah, these are the
it.
No,
If this the glue,
what can we
no.
possibly make?
so we don't need to disassemble the pen. We don't need to bend the paper.
Right.
We do need to open the envelope.
Yes.
Do we need to tear a large
No.
post-it? Should we put anything in?
Yes.
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 Should we put a paper clip in the envelope?
There are runners.
Should
Can I say anything? Not now. Can I say that? I can say not now.
No,
Oh,
no, you can only say yes or no.
So we know that. No.
but good questions. Keep asking.
So we put the pen in.
No.
How about the paper?
Yes.
This one?
Yes.
No, viewers have to stay out.
Yes. Good.
Should we put another one?
Just stay outside for a second, because
No.
watching the construction will change the way it is.
No.
Should that be in the envelope at all?
Yes.
Is it in fully? Like it's fully in the envelope? So it's partially in the envelope.
Yes.
Both of them?
No.
Partial. Okay. We just put it.
On the same side?
Should it be touching the flat?
Yes.
Should the sticky side be on the flat?
Yes.
Like this. Okay.
No.
Should it be centered?
Yes.
The post is correct.
Yes.
Okay. Is the face
No.
It's even close.
Go ahead.
Should it be rotated 90
Yes.
degrees?
Is
Yes.
the envelope sealed shut? It's not sealed shut, therefore we don't have to.
No.
No. Should it be fully on the flat or
Yes.
partial? So it should be fully.
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
It doesn't matter. Okay, that's good. Both of them.
Do we have to fold that post-it at all?
No.
Are they all visible?
No. Keep asking. Keep asking. You're going in the right direction.
Do we tear off the corners of the post-it?
No.
It is right?
No.
It is right?
Yes.
So therefore they go
Yes.
inside.
But it's not 100%.
Yes.
Okay. So should we fold like
No.
this?
No.
Any edge
No.
of the?
No,
Do we have to
No.
tear the small post-it?
No.
Do we have to tear the large post-it?
that's what I'm saying.
Do we have to fold it?
Yes.
Turn this like
Yes.
this? Oh, okay.
Yes. Yes.
How is it inside, but not,
Yes.
we're asking questions.
Are we?
One more question. Yes. But. Yes.
Okay, is it flipped outside?
At the end, is the envelope going to be open, or is the envelope going to be unfolded at the end?
No.
So the flap is going to be closed at the end?
Yes.
Because the flap has to fit under a post-it?
No.
So the flap should be, is the flap supposed to be outside of the envelope?
Yes.
Is the small post-it supposed to be outside of the envelope?
No. Good.
Anything else should be?
Yes.
Is a clip to be in the
Yes.
envelope? Okay. Are we supposed to put it, are we supposed to clip it onto anything?
Yes.
Okay. Are we supposed to clip it on to the post-it?
No.
Are we supposed to clip it on to only the envelope?
Yes.
We
are we supposed to?
No, no.
Is it supposed to be clipped on the inside flap?
Yes, yes,
Is it,
Like this.
is it supposed to be centered?
yes.
Do like this.
No,
Like this.
Supposed to be flipped 180 degrees?
Okay, and then the pen goes like that.
It's about
Yes, like this. We're done.
large paper or a small paper?
no, no.
Is it, is it supposed to be partially clipped on the post-it?
Yes.
Oh, so
It's not yes or no question.
Okay. So, let me clarify something. I thought I knew. I'll be right back. I just want to clarify one thing.
Okay.
Okay, hold on.
So we don't need a pen at all.
Maybe not.
yeah,
Maybe.
yeah.
But if you throw enough darts, you're going to get a bullseye eventually, right? It's gonna be-
Probably we should write something on the envelope.
We're going to go.
Close?
Okay, okay.
Were there any questions that we asked before that we should re-ask?
Yes,
Okay.
Don't actually know.
Do those questions involve the paper clip?
yes,
Does it involve what the paper clip is clipped to?
yes.
Okay. Should the paper clip be clipped
Thinking
on
you drew it out for
post-it?
your, your
Should the paper clip be clipped on only the envelope?
Yes.
Only the envelope, not the post.
Only,
You almost got it.
Yeah. So, somebody got it?
I think so, they got it.
Oh.
is this done or not?
It should be
Let
centered.
us finish. Okay, this is so much fun. Okay.
And it
Anything
should
else?
be, and it should be centered. Does the paper clip close the lap?
No.
No.
Do we have to put the pen in everything?
Yes.
Do we have to clip the pen
Yes.
on something?
I didn't hear
Yes.
anybody else.
Do we have to clip the pen onto the envelope?
Yes.
Do we clip the pen to the envelope flap closed?
Yes.
Do we hang the pen over the back
Yes.
flap side?
Yes. Right?
We keep it centered?
Yes. This is it.
That's everything.
I think what got us like in the loop was the clip on the paper on the sticky note. That's what got us like a little bit. Okay, should we tell them? The other thing I got stuck also was the paper, the top one. I didn't know if it had the sticky had to be on the glue had to be on the top or the bottom, and we had the bottom. So, and that's what she said doesn't matter. So I'm like, I'm gonna skip over that part, but then the paper.
So what-
Okay,
So that's what you saw. This is.
I think everybody's done.
Yeah, good.
I thought you did pretty good.
You did. I think so. But they finished it before us.
Oh,
Unfair advantage.
You got it?
yeah. Oh yeah, is everybody else?
Can you tell me? Okay, all right, good.
Patiently waiting.
Awesome, great work. Give yourselves a hand. Excellent.
Very good.
Let's debrief this exercise really quickly before we move on to the next one. You can just grab a seat anywhere, share some thoughts about. All right, so what sort of communication challenges came up during that exercise? Assertive questions? Tell me more.
For details?
Okay. How did that work in your team, Jose?
My questions with so limited answers.
Okay, excellent. So what was the key to making this work? For anyone, give us some input.
We started really flying when we stopped limiting ourselves to is this right, and started asking general descriptive ways of placing.
Okay, so you got more general and
Yeah, is this
more
clip,
specific.
is it clip with the flap up, the flap down, that sort of thing.
Okay, excellent. Any other thoughts?
So I heard, I wasn't one of the runners, but I heard interesting in our group since we had two, sometimes the communication of direction would not contradict, but because there's two sources of direction, it was sometimes confusing me.
Ah, yes, actually that's why I asked your teams to have 2 builders, because it's harder that way. I found that 2 builders make it harder than 1 builder. It takes longer, there's more communication conflict. Emily.
Well, we even had a problem with the 2 runners because we would ask one question and one of them would say yes and one of them would say no.
Okay.
Multiple
We were half right.
Depends on how you look at things. Like we would say yes, technically the end product is that way, but that's not the process. We have to do something else first. We can't just pretend like the envelope's already closed and that's correct. So yes, that's technically the end, but no, not right now.
Yes, yes. I remember in Vishali, this came up with something that you wanted to answer. You wanted to say yes, not now, but no, but the actual answer was no, but that kind of thing. David, how did you handle that dilemma? If you wanted to say yes, but couldn't say yes technically because the answer was no, how did your team work with that?
I thought about the progression of the steps needed to be taken. So I was answering questions based on how could they produce the product and not how was it going to look at the end.
Oh, okay. Good. Yeah, I saw at one point where I think the envelope was open and your team laid the pen in the proper position and they said, does the pen go there? And I forget how you answered that question, but...
Well, I answered the question at the beginning, is the flap of the envelope open or closed? You know, they asked if the flap of the envelope was open and I said yes because they needed to have it open in order to produce the product.
Oh, okay.
When the flap isn't open in the end product. So I answered the questions according to how they can produce what it is that we're looking for.
Yes, all right, so how did that work in your team?
We asked you about every position, where it would be located around the paper clip, and you said no to every one. Every side of it, top, bottom, left, right.
Okay.
So it was,
We
figured it out.
Yeah, we figured it out.
Was David giving you lots of nonverbal cues?
Not at all.
At all. That's
No,
what
we
I was
didn't
thinking as I was watching.
No,
I was thinking David's just such a rational person. He's like, the correct answer is no, so he's just going to say no.
Pretty much.
But it's often very tempting when people do this to be like, no, one of those. All right, so they say no, but they give you clues non-verbally. All right, great. Any frustrating points that came up for you?
Well, I came in a little late. Build something. I'm like, build
From scratch.
building?
Okay, excellent. All right. So we're going to move on to the next exercise, unless anyone else has any final comments. Okay, this is a game which will help us practice reading social cues. It's called the status card game. I'm going to have everyone come up to the front of the room in our little roam around space. How this works, you may have played this game before, is I'm going to give each of you a card. You're not going to look at it, but you're going to put it on the front of your forehead. All right? And everyone's going to be walking around. You're going to be able to see everyone else's card, but not yours. And I want you to interact with people based on the rank of their card. So if they're a king, we'll say ace is high too. If they're ace, they're like the best, coolest person in the world. If they're 2 or 3 or 4, like, maybe you don't want to hang out with that person, maybe you don't really want to talk to that person. If they're 10, like, okay, I'll hang out with you if nobody else, if you're the best I can do kind of thing. So we're going to interact that way for like a minute, all right, and then we're going to try to read those cues and guess where we rank. Does that make sense? Okay, fantastic. So, all right, so put your card on your forehead, don't look at it.
Did you shuffle these right?
Did I?
Yeah.
Sorry. Someone put these in order for me? I don't remember what happened last time. All right, let's see. All right, give away a cue. All right, so just just mill around and say hello to your MBA associates. Take a couple minutes. Keep your card. Okay. What we're going to do now is we're going to line up according to your rank. So twos will be down there, ace will be down there. No, wait 1 second. So low down here, high down here. Now try to do this just based on your observations. Try not to direct each other like your here, because it's easy to give it away if other people are directing you. Just where you were reading the cues based on how people interacted with you. Really low down here, really high down here.
I have a feeling I'm a 6 for one of the reasons
Right over there, or?
Yeah.
All right, and it's one straight line. One straight line, low down here. Yeah. Yeah, and you can look at the people who you want to be, higher than or lower than, based on your assumptions. Okay, good. All right, so take a look at your card, and let's see how you So the outliers are the interesting points. So we've got a queen and a 9 down here. What happened there? Why especially the queen? I shook your hand.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I came to you first because you're the celebrity.
I'm trying to,
But super kick.
I undervalued myself by overvaluing.
Yes, you may have undervalued yourself too. And I remember Shruti, I saw you two interact.
Yeah.
And so maybe you were talking to a bunch of the high card people and they didn't like you.
Nope.
And you're like, oh, thank God, I'll talk to you. So maybe it's just a relative. If you'd been talking to a bunch of low card people, you would have had a different reaction. I don't know. Okay, so a couple of low outliers, but then everybody else. Good. Any thoughts on how you ended up in the right position, if you ended up in the right position, which most of you did? Marilyn.
Somebody said to me, I'm busy, and just walked away.
Good. Thoughts, Emily?
Marilyn's the nicest person probably in this room, and she looked at me and said, no.
Okay, good. All right, let's try this one more time. Can someone help me? Lee, can you just collect everybody's card for me? All right. Pass it down, whatever. Straight thought. Okay, we're going to do this one more time, and how we'll do it is I will give you a card, you will look at it, and you will put it in your pocket. You will then talk with your MBA associates, and you will act as if you are that rank. So if you have an ace or a king, you'll act like you're the king or queen of the world. If you have a 2-3, you will act shy, confident, and then at the end we'll do the same thing. we'll try to see if we're able to determine where we rank among other people, reading how they act. Does that make sense? All right, so look at the card, put it in your pocket. All right, so mingle around, say hello to your MBA associates for a couple minutes.
Hi, how you doing? Good.
You need help around here? I've been here for a while, so I can give you some So let's do the same thing. Line up low down here and high down here. Well, what's more interesting about this is how you looked at other people. Like if someone has an ace and you thought they had a 5, someone had a queen, but still there is some judgment you need to make right here if you're higher or lower than someone else.
Maybe the lower end.
Okay. Okay, all right. We're settled. All right, fine. Okay, so take out your card and let's see if we got the order right, first of all. Very nice picking of yourself. Okay, so there's two parts to this. One is if you can guess where you rank among other people. The other is if there's any surprises, like someone who actually had a king card, did they appear very unconfident to you? Or did someone who has a 4, did they appear like they were acting very, very, who surprises you basically? I thought Daniel was ace. Because he's not. He's got a queen, but it was.
Why are we doing the check?
Just the
We thought you were an ace.
Yeah, Daniel's surprised. Very confident queen. How about anybody on the low edge just surprised you? They acted their low status. Okay, good. All right, any thoughts before we move on to the next exercise on how this gave you a chance to practice reading cues from other people?
It's kind of like high school.
Reading? Okay, it is like high school in terms of, you wanted to expand.
It's hard to read though, like in the middle, I think. It's hard to figure out how you'll put that.
I think that's exactly it. Like you're like you almost feel like you have to act a certain way. Like if you remember, like that middle school to high school phase, when you're in that like awkward like figuring out who you are. You feel like you have to conform to certain like norms, like which table you sit at, and who can sit at your table and who can't, and like you know what I mean. Like we grow up out of that, and it's kind of like a flashback back to like 15 years ago.
Right. I hope it wasn't traumatic. I definitely agree with that. I find the most interesting part is, hey Alex, is the mismatches. Like you look at Daniel and like, wait a minute, why is he a queen? He's only a queen. He was giving me images, or projecting that he was an ace, or someone on the other end who you just misread them completely. I think is one of the valuable takeaways from this exercise.
I have one thought.
Yes.
If you're on a job interview, the person interviewing you, they have no idea what you have in your pocket truly, so they have some idea. So there's no reason not to go in there with the ace in your pocket, right? Or if you're presenting, they may never know who you are and what you have. So.
Okay, I like that. Go into the interview with the ace in your pocket.
You gotta make it till you make it.
Why not? Yeah, actually, I'll give you an ace. Bring an ace in your pocket. Walk through life with an ace in your pocket.
You know what else I thought was interesting, Professor, was
Yes.
the higher the card, I feel like you had to be almost more pompous and less social because you don't want to intermix. It's almost like your go-to personality type with an ace or a king is almost like a mean type of personality. Very like non-communication, no social interaction, just one direction or ignore. And it's weird because people got that too. But it's like you almost don't want to mix with, if you're too friendly, that could resemble weakness.
Okay, so that is a complicated subject, that the higher status people were not people we wanted to hang out with.
I was trying to attend to be helpful. Like I kept trying to say like, oh, you're new here. Can I help you? I have a lot of experience here. Like I can figure out what you know. And that's what I was trying, but he kept going away. He was so like, I don't deserve to talk to you. I kept bothering him. Like, no, let me help you. I've been here for a long time.
I like it. I like that strategy, and I also like the point that Nick brought up, that having high status does not necessarily mean we're saying that's the way people with high emotional intelligence act. Maybe they act more like Saeed would act. All right, good. We'll move on to the next exercise. Just grab a seat anywhere. I'll pose the scenario, and we'll do it. All right. These are a couple exercises I call see it my way exercises. I'm going to give you a question. You're going to come up with the answer to that question in your head. And then we're going to go through a process where we negotiate with each other. You're going to try to convince the rest of the class that your answer is right and their answer is wrong. So let me pose the question to you, the first one. I've got some information for you about how much television Americans watch on a weekly basis. Hours of television viewed weekly by Americans. On the vertical axis, we have number of respondents who view this many hours of television. On the horizontal axis, we have number of hours viewed. We collected this data, someone collected this data, or I made up this data rather. 0 hours, 1 hour, 2 hours, 3 hours. All respondents were asked, and they all said one of these 4 things. They said, I watched 0 hours, I watched 1 hour, I watched 2 hours, I watched 3 hours. For purposes of this exercise, we'll assume no one said anything other than this. No one said they watched 4 or more hours. Make sense so far? Question for you all. Based on the data in the chart, how much television does the average American watch per week? So go ahead and think about how you would answer that question. Take a couple minutes, and then I will provide further instructions. Does anyone need more time? Everyone has an answer? Okay, all right, so let me hear the answers and I'll put you in groups according to your answer. Alex?
I think 1.8.
Okay, all right, 1.8, anybody else? Jim? No, anybody else have a different answer? Said?
I just used the range 1 to 2 hours.
1 to 2, okay, so 1 to 8, 1 to 2.
3 or less.
3 or less?
An hour and a half.
Okay, all right, so let's do this. Saeed, why don't you go in that corner 1 to 2. Alex, why don't you go in the far back corner 1.8. And would you said 3 or more? Nick? Or 3 or less. So any answers besides that?
An hour and a half.
An hour and a half? Well, you don't have to. If you think hour and a half is the right answer, then why don't you come over here? Hour and a half is Lavanya, or if you like the way Saeed describes it. Okay, if you like one of these answers, go to that corner. And do we have other answers besides that? Yes.
I don't think you can answer based on this.
Okay, so can't answer based on the data is over here.
Are you kidding? Yeah. You don't know how
Where are you at,
many
James?
people
We got 1.8, we got 3 or less, we've got 1.5, we've got can't answer based on the data, and we've got 1 to 2.
I think you got 2 or more.
2, okay, so separate group, 2 or more? Okay, excellent. Okay, so here's the way we want to approach this. We want to look at how many people we have in each group now, and your goal over the next 5 to 10 minutes is see if you can increase your group's size. So Nick, you're going to want to see if you can get some of those people to come over to your side and say the correct answer is 3 or less.
What are you?
Same thing, what are you, 1 to 2?
1.5.
1.5. Same thing with the 1 to 2. Can't answer based on the data. So you might want to walk over to this group and say, hey, come on, we can't answer because of the data. Lay out your arguments. See how you can pose the questions where you might be able to convince people to come over to your side. Does that make sense? So we'll take like 5 minutes, then we'll stop, take a temperature, see how many people have changed, and then we'll take another few minutes to just wrap it up, see if we can get people to make a final decision. We'll count group size, and you'll cheer if your team wins. All right, go for it.
Explain why we do it. We only could use the data, right? We didn't want to pick a specific number. We thought a range would be better because it would encompass the 1.2 and 1.8 people, right? So we imagine like a bell curve. And do the bell, the top of the bell curve would be 1 to 2. So we left a broad range and we have to specify a specific number.
Okay, so what we thought was that it says average number. So how do you know the people who took this were at average number? This is just the people who took this.
It was a non-biased survey. It was done with power sampling techniques.
Oh, you didn't say that.
So this will be the
But even if that was true, I would not go 1 to 2. So how do we know that? How do we know that everyone who took the survey are LAR?
It's a well.
What if they're immigrants?
Well, that's the beauty of the range, right? We're encompassing.
Based on how average so this is just the hours and this is average thing. It's not the same. Average number of hours.
I think the question is how much is the average person? How many hours?
How many hours? Based on people who respond.
They're talking about.
It just shows what it shows.
They're talking about Americans. They're talking about all Americans. Americans that watch.
That's all. Average number of hours per week per person. Yeah,
but they're Americans.
okay.
Yeah,
So for example, let's ask you.
Yeah, but that's why.
How much television do you see?
You just have a problem with the question.
Yeah, so I'm saying.
If I can just interrupt for a second, so we see
Population of America.
Oh, yeah, if you
I'm looking at our information over here.
okay.
How much? How much TV does
Would you take a second and just watch
But
the
I have a question
presentation?
about the premise. So if you want to go this one,
There's a free check.
see, they didn't ask people what
2 hours.
That doesn't mean.
But because you're
Right, so that's why we have to use the data to interpret that. But they're asking, like, in terms of. In terms of brief question, I think that's the chart.
Oh, okay. How do you get 1.8? Yeah.
The magic of weighted averages.
Yeah, 50% of the 2 hours.
But let's say that
Slightly more of the balance.
let's say it represents.
Exactly. So,
That's your logic?
No. So check. All right. So two percentages. Let's call it. Let's say 10 people. So we have 5 people who watch 2 hours a week, 2 people who watch 3 hours a week, 2 who watch 1 hour a week, and 1 person who just doesn't watch 2 hours. Whatever. This is something. So if we look at if we total up the number of hours watched by all 10 of these people, you get 18 hours. Now, if you want to find the average of what any one person in that group watches, you would take that 10 people doing 18 hours, divide it by those 10 people to get 1.8 hours. The weighted average by that.
If I believe the data said it was the correct data, I would go with you.
Well,
Yeah.
we have been told that is the assumption.
This
is treated as truth, right?
Yes, this is a statistically valid, sound,
yeah.
unbiased survey.
So you agree?
Are you guys in that group?
1.8, yes we are. Yeah.
So you got under control.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Wait, is
We almost
that
got
like the
one more.
1.8 group?
Yeah, it is.
Oh,
Yeah, this is also, you may notice, this is
Plus,
also
look at all, how many people believe 1.8?
we're giving out ace cards over there. You can carry on an ace in your pocket if you join this club.
The twos are over here.
Yeah.
No, we are like,
Oh, no, they're not
we are
twos.
the no.
They're not twos, they're aces who don't know yet.
But secretly, this is.
Aces who don't know yet. No, I believe in you. You can get there. Are you still away
I'm gonna
from
stick
the
with
camera?
her.
Still
What's
sticking
your
here?
hesitation?
Yeah, what can we do?
All right,
Said
so
you
let's take
believe
a
us.
quick check. Or do you need to keep talking?
Oh, no, we're good.
All right, take a quick check. Tell me where you stand at this point. Go back to your groups.
How many did you find?
What, people to pull in?
How
We
many?
got 2 or 3,
You
maybe
did?
even 4 by now, yeah.
Oh, that's good.
Not like us, but team 1.8.
So just take a couple minutes, just 2 minutes to wrap up. And then if you go to your final
You don't
check.
understand that
You're
1.8
still trying to
is
convince
really
them
the
to
right
do that.
answer.
No, I agree. If I took that as an
You agreed with us. You agreed with us at some point. But he said it was a concrete.
Oh,
He just
we
told
didn't say
us.
that beforehand.
He just told us that you clarified.
I don't think this, we don't know how many people they sample, and if they're average Americans, we don't know. Like, we're assuming the population is average American, right? But the chart,
Okay,
we don't
we've
know.
narrowed ours to a little bit more precision. We're saying 1.5 to 2.
But think of it,
So if you'd like that number,
think of it this way. The data doesn't say.
Okay, so you're at 1.5 to 2 now?
we're at 1.5 to 2 to be more precise.
All right, and where,
Just in case there's
where
errors
are you
in the data, our
Michelle?
range is better than a precise number. So come join us, 1.5 to 2 now.
That's my instruction. Where does she go?
I think you're being
We're allowing
picky.
for a 2-point standard deviation. So join us in case 1.8 is wrong.
Okay, Michelle, you're still at cannot be determined?
Yeah, but I think I'm leaning more towards 1.8 because I can see their calculations.
All right, so we'll
All
make
right,
your final
okay.
decision.
We encompass 1.8
All right,
and any error in calculation.
still my.
okay, you're 3 or less? Okay, good. All right, so this is everyone's final decision? Okay, awesome. So there is a mathematically correct answer to this. It's based on the definition of average. So it's, you add everything up and you work out the weighted average, the proportionality, and it is 1.8. And the interesting thing is how we were or weren't able to convince people to come to that answer. So why don't you have a seat and we'll just discuss the communication strategies and what worked and what didn't work for arriving at this answer. Alright, so I love this question, and I've seen so many funny things happen during this exercise. Let me ask you, the folks who are in 1.8, what sort of strategy did you use to convince people to join you, and how successful were you? Mike?
So mathematics and logic.
Did you just go up to people and say, mathematics and logic? Or,
Well, basically walking through that.
okay, and
To prove
that
that the
worked?
numbers work.
Okay.
And it got a couple people pretty quickly, as long as they believe the numbers.
Okay, what about the people that you couldn't get? What do you think the holdup was there?
I think they had a hard time either believing the numbers or visualizing all of that.
Okay, good. Daniel, you have thought?
So I kind of first looked at why they believed what they believed, and I kind of tailored how I persuaded them. Because the one over here was all about the numbers, so I had to kind of change it up a little. The one in the front said I didn't know how to do the math, so I said, well, it's very simple, and then I kind of I simplified it, and it was much easier to say yes than if I was to talk about the math and the decimals.
Beautiful. So Daniel said he tried to think about why the other party believed what they believed before he started with his logic.
Yeah,
James?
he mentioned basically a normal distribution where, 2 hours is right in the middle, and then there were 30% on the left, 20% on the right, so it's going to be just a shade left from 2, which is going to be like 120 or something like that. So that's how he approached me, basically, and it's pretty well.
Right. Well, did he approach you before or after you made the statement, it depends on how you count zero?
He talked me through that a little bit, and we had to count it for it, yeah.
Okay, but that was after that point?
Yeah.
Because I heard you say that, and then I just tried to mention that to the rest of the group. Like, he's asking whether or not we count zero or not count zero, because there's a strong mathematical argument for how that
Yeah, we
works.
talked about that, and I said 0 represents anything less than 1, because 30 minutes isn't represented in 1 hour. So that's why you count 0 as a whole integer here, and that shifts down.
Okay, excellent. Now, Emily made an interesting comment to me. She said, did you say you thought the question was too vague and not specific?
Not me, but the people that talked to me.
Okay.
They have a problem with the question not being specific.
Okay. So, that's why I was trying to scratch the surface a little bit and see if I could get someone in the 1.8 to give a specific answer, to say, all right, well, there's a definite answer, definite definition, clear definition to average, and this is what it is. And it depends on whether or not you say, see it for sure, or explain it in a way like Daniel's describing from their point of view. So there is a specific right answer to that question, but it all depends on how the speaker approaches it. All right, any other thoughts before we move on? Yes, sir.
Now that I was stubborn and trying to do 1 to 2, then we eventually compromised. We tried to rename our group so we could get a few more people. So we compromised with the 1.5 people.
Okay.
So I said, what would you say, like 1.5 to 2? Grab them. But now that I think about it, like I should have just done a little bit more with numbers and targeted like the cheats of the other groups and just said like, well, what if 90% of the 50% that watch 2 hours is 2 hours and 59 minutes, right? Because that would change our whole 1.8 hours completely. So I didn't think about that, and I think if I would have worked with the numbers more.
Oh, if like the people who watch 3 hours, they don't actually watch 3 hours?
Like the 2 hours, well, what if everyone was 2 hours and 59 minutes, but they're still classified in 2 hours? And the average wouldn't be 1.8 anymore.
Okay, that'd be an interesting argument. And I guess one thing that was pointed out that I didn't make clear is we're assuming this is a statistically valid survey and that all these people are Americans and they watch exactly this much. And I didn't explain that as thoroughly. But good insight there. All right, good insight on
Alex. I'll say one more thing. The 0, I guess, when I was trying to argue my number, the 0 was the factor for why 1.8 was not the correct number. So then my counter was the people that responded 0, they are American still. The question would have been, how much does the average American that watches TV watch per week to get them stripped out of the equation? That's kind of what I was trying to.
Yeah, I mean, that's a great strategy and that's great logic. And one thing I love about this exercise is sometimes the right logic doesn't win because you explain it in a way that offends the audience because someone else wants to stay in their camp. For whatever reason, we're not able to convince someone of what is the mathematically correct answer. All right, but good work. Let's move on to the next exercise. Similar, it's a see it my way exercise. It's not a math problem. And when I describe this problem to you, you'll see quickly that there is no right or wrong answer. It's based on opinion. So sometimes the discussion will get a little more emotional as a result of that. But I want you to form your opinion to the answer to this question, and then we'll discuss it in a similar fashion. All right, so I constructed this question, 6 months, a year ago, when there was all this question about Donald Trump and some of the business practices that he was engaged in. And I saw so much emotional reaction to the issues around this. I decided to make this a question for emotional intelligence. So I'm going to give you some information about Donald Trump's business dealings, and I'm going to ask you some question, or a question, about what you think the result of that should be in terms of Donald Trump and bankruptcy court. So let me give you the information, and we'll go from there. So, okay, so let's talk about Trump Taj Mahal, the construction project in 1991. I'm going to explain how that worked based on some sources that I've gathered, and you're going to decide whether or not Donald Trump should have been held liable in personal bankruptcy court. So, all right, in 1991 this started. Trump Taj Mahal entered in Chapter 11 bankruptcy with an estimated $1.4 billion in debt. $900 million of that was Donald Trump's personal guarantee. So, 1991, Chapter 11 bankruptcy, $1.4 billion in debt, $900 million of which Donald Trump had personally guaranteed. According to the Washington Post, although Trump owned hotels, skyscrapers, casinos, and an airline, his debts exceeded the value of his properties by hundreds of millions of dollars. So he had wealth, but his debts of $1.4 billion was much more than his wealth. Trump could have been taken to personal bankruptcy court, and he would have likely lost all of his wealth. However, for the Trump Taj Mahal and other projects, the creditors had lent Trump so much money, $3.4 billion total, that if Trump had went bankrupt, the banks that had lent him the money might have gone bankrupt as well. So, Trump convinced the creditors to lower his personal debt by $750 million and lower the interest rates on outstanding debts to a level that Trump Taj Mahal could afford to pay. As a result, Trump was able to avoid personal bankruptcy court, and Trump Taj Mahal remained open and continued to pay its debts. Question for you all. Should Trump have been made to face personal bankruptcy court in this situation? Go ahead and think about your answer, and I will provide further instructions. Yes?
Who are we in this scenario? Are we just us looking at this, or are we work at the bank that...
You are you.
Okay.
And what do you think? Does anyone need more time? Everyone have an answer? Okay, so let's do it this way. If you think yes, Trump should have gone to personal bankruptcy court, come over here. If you think no, he should not have, come over here. So yes, personal bankruptcy, no, over here. Yes. All right, are you over here now? Yeah. Okay. All right. So yes, no. All right. So I find this works better individually, but let's. How are we going to do this? Let's. All right. Let's have in.
Can I ask
Okay.
a clarifying question?
Yes.
So this, the way you posed it, says should he have just gone to court?
Should he have been made to face personal bankruptcy court?
Right,
Just
so,
go to court.
so just to go, my thought is go to court and have that decided, not necessarily saying
That they would have. Okay.
which side I agree. Should this question be which side you agree that he should face the charges? Or just go to court?
Should he have just gone to court? Yes. Okay, so let's do it this way. Let's have, we have 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's do Maybe we can try group discussions. Like actually, if you four could spread out, and we'll have like you'll each be representing your spot, and maybe we'll have like 3 people go and talk with Emily, 3 people go talk with Al. Try not to gang up on them, but it's the same strategy. See if you can convince the person on the other side to come to your side, and same strategy here. See if you can convince someone from the other side to come to your side. So yeah, so let's just have like the 3 of you talk with Emily, the next 3 talk with Al, the next 3 talk with Alex, the next 8.
We're getting on our
And I know that he has.
I'm trying to be a good person.
Agreed. I agree. I think my thing is, the one thing that you can't avoid is that you technically expose the loophole in the banking system, and I think it's more banks' fault for keeping it allowed. One, to decrease. If it was a small business owner, they could so the ability for a bank to lend so much money, I think you can't personally tell one person. I would the banks be honest. Most banks be so for one person to
What about
at least not to court, right? Well, so I think here, the thing here is that I'm okay with it not going to court because going bankrupt is not a crime. To be judged by a case. If he's able to set it out, a lot of people continue right before I think it's not.
So just with this information, the creditors, I think they were in this
I'm thinking,
they kept paying their
By
debt
not
as
facing
hospital.
everyone necessary. That's just what
that's how they operate. They have liabilities and their assets, but they
But the lenders are too trustworthy and then I'll take it to court.
but you come back and say,
It was their responsibility.
we don't know what's gonna happen. We don't know, like, when someone says, should he have the people that put up the original money, someone's gonna lose it anyway.
he has like the airline is 19 months, there's a lot less regulation. Even as they're
Take this small but I think that on the court,
I think we all
So what would have been, so say you went to court and that would have been the
All right, start wrapping up your arguments and make your final decision. If you want to change sides, decide that in the next 30, 40 seconds.
I guess that's the hard part is talking about later. When they become problem.
I think morally should this stuff happen? This is more like an linguistic system. I'm saying more of like punishment. And you guys are thinking more of, and you're thinking more of like, I don't know, I think so. No. I think one side is looking at this in terms of like the greater person, regards to loss, like monetary loss. I'm looking at maybe like what's right.
So, well, that's a good question.
What's the person getting? So
It wasn't just you as a business.
he lied or he persuaded people to and if you say,
All right, go ahead and gravitate towards your final decision. Yes, I should have gone to bankruptcy court over here. No, over on the camera side.
That's right, that's my problem. I don't think it was as good as it is. But you force someone to go to court. If everyone was doing enough money agrees on it, then that's it. If all of us agree, then there's no reason to break. I shouldn't be forced to write
just as much. Like, you're not going to get $750 out of my pocket.
I think we could do go back to our side.
You want to clarify, we're not.
If you think about it,
Yeah, go back to your final side.
they're all backed by
General practice of the parties.
they're all
All right. All right. Jameson, she convinced you? No. Go. Make it final.
He just doesn't want to come.
All right. So no one changed their mind. Okay, go ahead and have a seat for a minute. We'll discuss this briefly.
There's no data
30 more
here. We
seconds.
can't convince.
30 more seconds?
30 more.
Wait, what are you thinking? Like, are you close? 30 more seconds?
Yeah, I mean, like, I don't disagree with anything they're saying. Everything they're saying is right, but it's still so gross.
Okay, good. Okay, so how did the team that talked with Emily address that? That she agreed logically with absolutely everything you said, but there's still a reason why you weren't able to convince her.
I think we have to try and empathize with her. Yes, we understand, yeah, it's gross. It sucks for everyone involved. But in this case, it's a bunch of adults trying to be adults and salvage a bad situation, make the best of it, and have the most positive outcome considering the mistakes they've all made.
Okay, good. Say.
I think it would be interesting to just like start without the name from, because the problem is like when our discussion, we were talking about what happened after, right? Like, so she was on the other side, so she said, yeah, but what happened afterwards? He continued to do this, and then we were like, yeah, but that's not what we're talking about right now. We're just talking about this one thing. So because of all this.
1991, I was talking about only what happened yesterday previously. Like I felt like all the other people who were working with him, doing business with him, everybody got messed up because he got away.
Yeah.
Now he has $10 million to me, other people had to file bankruptcy because of him. So I totally agree with the data, but I morally, ethically, it was very wrong to let him go. Because it didn't solve the purpose, he came back to do it over and over again.
Yeah.
So it was not something that's not right.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a very valid point. Like, think about what happened afterwards. And I've had people, when I've done this in the past, who've said, well, because he got away with this, that's what caused the 2008 recession. Because he created an environment where we could get away with this, and that person made a compelling argument. So I think it's very valid.
That's exactly what we were talking about. I think we agreed on most of the points, if we agreed to disagree. But my stance was that, had this happened in 91, we went through the courts, and they set precedents for the bailout and taught lessons that we face later.
Yeah, good. All right, so good logic. And okay, go ahead.
I don't see it that way at all, because in this case, it's not really a bailout, it's people actually taking a hit themselves. They're losing value and equity. So they're suffering from their own poor calculations and decisions in terms of being creditors to someone who really wasn't that credit worthy. So So whereas the bailout is people not suffering the consequences of their own decisions, it's other people suffering the consequences of their decisions and mistakes.
Okay.
So just the response, my stance was that I just thought he should have gone to court. I wasn't making the decision of whether or not he would be held accountable, but it should have reached a certain level to teach those lessons and so that more people could have learned.
So what I'm most interested, these are all great points. This is all fantastic logic. And what I'm most interested in this exercise is how you approach convincing someone who has strong opinions on the logic, strong opinions on the ethics, a strong emotional, rational, mental basis in their decision. How do you have a discussion with someone who is steadfast in their belief as a result of those things? Nick?
So I think the first step you have to do is come to a common ground and agree with them on some aspect to show that you're both on the same page. But if you take a step back, here's kind of the rational, bigger picture from your standpoint. So yeah, I think you have to make that initial connection. Otherwise, you're just two opposing forces.
Yeah, two opposing forces, both strongly grounded in your beliefs. Maybe it's emotional, maybe it's rational, and that's one thing I love about this question. People get passionate about their answer to this. So how do we have a discussion about that? Did I see a hand up? So, yes, Dave.
Something that we did in our group was kind of probe for what he really believed. So, the individual was a yes person, we're trying to convince no, that you don't necessarily need to go to court for everything. So we boiled down the argument to, does everything need to go to court or just the things that you can't come to an agreement on? And that's where we kind of found the individual on a tipping scale. And, so that...
Who are you talking about? Wait, okay.
I agree with everything that they're saying, but I think we were looking at this in two different ways. Like, they were thinking of this, should Trump have been made personally liable in terms of, and they were thinking about what's the best or more strategic thing for the creditors. I was thinking of it more as like in terms of morals and in terms of, and also like you don't know what's going to happen in court. And he obviously does have a lot of assets in themselves. They lost $750 million. Maybe going to court they would have lost less. So I thought, in my opinion, I think you should personally liable on court. But I did agree with a lot of things they were saying.
Okay.
But I don't think I could be convinced.
Yeah, it sounds like there were some great strategies. All right, let's empathize, let's figure out what we can agree on, and then let's discuss. And that's what we want to do from an emotional intelligence standpoint. One thing that maybe you saw me get worried about how we were going to break up the groups when I saw we had 4 people on this side and everyone else on this side was that it's hard to have this discussion when it's 4 against 1 or 5 against 1. How did you all on this side feel about that? How did that make a difference in the way this conversation happened? Alex?
I was intimidated at first. But taken over. To the point, the group came over, empathized, got on the same page first, and set the tone of a level playing field for open discussions.
Do you think if you talked with maybe one person, there would have been more of a chance that either they would have convinced you or you would have been able to convince them?
I don't think so. I think if it's lopsided, I think the stronger number might have the advantage.
Yeah, well, in a way they have the advantage, but they really, I wouldn't say they have the advantage in the type of scenario we're trying to construct, which is how can we actually convince you to come over to the other side? So if they scare you, they're not going to convince you to come over to the other side. I mean, rarely people will like say, okay, I agree with you because I'm scared. I mean, sometimes it can happen, but...
Say you're hearing logic from multiple people.
Okay.
Just once they're validating each other.
Good point, fantastic. Ruben?
I think if it was one-on-one, like if it was me talking with Al, I probably would have gone to his side because I guess just in my personality, I'm always on the fence. Like, I can see both sides so clearly that I can't just be like, no, like, this is why I'm right.
Okay, so
But that's
one-on-one.
just me.
Okay, so if it was just one-on-one, there would be more of a chance for him to convince you. All right, that's an interesting insight. Lay.
Yeah, so when multiple people is talking to one people, it seems we're taking advantage. And we keep talking and we don't give her a chance to explain or talk back to us. So it's kind of the situation that, in this case, she may not change her mind. When facing multiple people, she's gonna insist her mind. And another point is that, we just have about 5 or 8 minutes about this. In this short period of time, usually people don't have enough time to really think about all of the information. So maybe if we really need to convince people, we have to be very patient. Like when we buy a car, the car dealers take about 3-4 hours to talk to us, and it take a long time to help us, change our mind and follow his thoughts. So the patience is very important.
Okay, great point. So Lay recognizes that in order to convince someone, you need to hear them and let them talk. Let them feel like they've been heard. And so there's less of an opportunity with multiple people. And also maybe later tonight when Emily's trying to drift off to sleep, she'll be like, oh, all right, Trump should get off the, or should have gotten off the. All right, so some final thoughts quickly? Yeah, Emily, did you have a quick one?
It's not really quick.
Okay. We have time.
No, sorry. This reminds me of a really great This American Life episode that I listened to, where they literally played clips of somebody that was canvassing, and they were talking about abortion, and literally in 20 minutes changed this woman's mind. And the way they did it was not by talking about the issues, all the stuff that's loaded, this is Trump, it's a loaded idea already. What they did is let her talk, got to the roots of why she believed what she believed. So it wasn't about, I agree with everything you said. That I just got up deciding that I was going to be morally right today. Today I was like, all right, we're going the right way on this one. So if they had let me talk about that, then I probably would, kind of broken that down. Why are you being morally right today if you're not morally right yesterday? I don't know. So I was on the fence to start also. So you kind of have to get to the root of it all first.
Yeah, so,
Anyway,
okay.
I'm going to send you guys that clip because it was amazing.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, so two
There's some
really
cool
interesting
studies
things.
going on.
Thank you for taking the extra time to explain that. So one was, even though Emily agreed with everything that you said, she didn't feel there was enough chance for her to explain just the root of why she felt what she felt. And it sounds like you're hinting at the possibility that if you had been able to express that, you would have realized, okay, maybe I don't need to be morally right today. I can follow logic today.
Yeah, and they did a great job empathizing. They were like, yes, it is morally wrong. And we all agreed on that, but we never got to, why do I care about that, though?
So why do you specifically? And they could have
If they had
uncovered.
been able to break that
And you would have
down.
said, oh, well, I woke up this morning, I decided this morning that I want to be morally right. And
Yeah.
and maybe they would have been able to convince you on the logic of that. Not, you don't need
Yeah,
to
and
be
the logic, I agree. It did save a lot of time, effort, money, work. But that
Good.
wasn't enough for me today with this woman.
Okay, got wrap it up for us
Just,
now.
I think everyone on the side was thinking morally right, and we agreed with them. And I think Nick and Jim were saying, well, it's not legally wrong for it to end up this way. So we're thinking legally, clearly it was okay. We agreed that it was wrong, but not legally.
Okay.
So when we're thinking court, we're thinking law,
Mhm.
and you didn't break the law, then they made a deal, even though morally it was.
It's not a moral court. It's a legal court.
It's not against the law.
I felt like they could have used this opportunity to change the law.
We can talk about that too.
I'm switching sides. You switch sides.
I'm on this side now.
All right, we got it.
After all this talk, I'm on this side now.
Fantastic. All right. Excellent. So one person was convinced with good emotional intelligence techniques. Everyone else raised very sound, logical points. And I hope you got a lot out of thinking about how people approach and how you can approach that type of discussion. Let's move on to some conversation scenarios. How I want to do this is I want to break up into small groups and have you practice some of these conversation scenarios amongst yourselves, and then we'll come together and do a few of them as a class. So I'm going to have you in a moment break up into teams of 3, and I've got 3 different difficult conversations in a professional type of setting scenario for you. And I have instructions. Oh, we already talked about intention versus impact, labeling. We got all that. Okay. All right. So instructions first. We're going to form groups of 3, and we're going to have 3 different roles. One person is going to be initiating this difficult conversation. One person is going to be receiving. One person is just going to be observing. So we'll start with the initiator initiating this conversation. The receiver will respond based on how you think this person would respond in this type of scenario. Observer will take some notes, give the initiator some notes, try the conversation again, and then switch roles. And we have 3 different exercises. And with a group this size, I want everyone to get a chance to do it, so that's why I'm going to have everyone break up into teams of 3, and then we'll do maybe some of these as a class, maybe some of the later ones as a class. So let's have everyone get into groups of 3, and we'll see where we are with that. So form groups of 3, and I'll see if I need to do any rearranging such. Okay, all right, good. So that's fine. You can be a group, and I'll observe a little bit, and you don't necessarily need an observer. You could just be receiver initiator for each of them. Okay, so start with the first one. Decide who's going to be the initiator, receiver, observer. Take just a minute to read the scenario. Think about how you want to approach this conversation with good emotional intelligence concepts. Questions versus statements, labeling, intention versus impact, and other good communication techniques that we cover.
Yeah.
So do we pick who wants to be Pat, who's observer?
Who wants to be initiated?
Okay.
Oh, it doesn't matter to me. We're all going to do these 3 scenarios, right? You'll be Pat. I don't want to be the one that talks to JP. Sales are like great when you talk to the bottom. Yeah, it's been really good. Who's the receiver?
I'll be the receiver. Wait, am I passed? Catch loss.
I mean, we're all going to do
I can be passed.
Why do you think it was, because I was thinking about it too.
Well, you know, it's been rough. Volume's been very low. You know, some of the guys on the team haven't been performing the way they should. I was sat down with them. It seems like we have an issue with the way with my management.
Weird, right?
So
So I've tried to sit down with them and resolve it and try to get to the root of it, but they don't want to talk about it.
So, I talked to him and I got the same impression, right? They clearly can't use and now we have a situation where it's been there for a long time, it's sort of hard to displace.
Oh, of course.
So, we either have to replace them with sales right?
Which I don't think is a great idea in a business standpoint.
So, do you think there's something that you can do to bring them along, or are we sort of
Absolutely. What I can do is try and sit down with them on a less professional level and maybe more on a friendly level, just to try and get to the root of what the underlying issue is, and I can try and talk to you.
So what support do you want? I mean, how can either myself or the rest of your institutions help support you in that?
Sure. I think at first, let me myself give it a try, and then, because I don't want them to feel threatened with upper management coming into the future, but if necessary steps need to be taken in order forward, then absolutely. I may need your assistance.
Okay.
So let's maybe touch back in about a week. I'll sit down with the folks.
Is that good? All right.
You're always very great. I respect that. So,
The only other thing I would do in this conversation is possibly set, quarterly club sales numbers, ultimately the district performing. And I need you to put together a whole as to how you're going to address this. There needs to be help. We can either work with these folks or we can't work with these folks. One of them endorse the action plan. You can attend it. Follow the action plan. Develop it together. Then, so be it. If we understand who's being moved here,
Yeah, I think when it comes to how can we be a part of it, I guess creating that action.
I don't know why that matters. It was good a long time ago, and 30% of your team doesn't like you.
Wait, what? Are we still on the first scenario?
I don't know if you're getting the couple to switch.
Yeah, just keep going.
We'll switch.
but I also didn't get it done.
Going through all the scenarios, or do we wait for you?
Yeah, no, go ahead. When you're ready to go to scenario 2.
I gotta be the guy with
Wait, oh, so I'm talking to Chris. Are you Hey Chris, how are you? Good. How's your day going? I see you got a little side thing, a little blue thing. Let me Personally, I don't really mind too much. This doesn't affect me, but I'm the supervisor supervising 18 professionals and support staff. One of the support staff, which I've heard from a few complaints here and there that you may have love interest. Then again, none of my personal business, but when it comes to a professional environment, I do have to address the issue. I just want to make sure that we're kind of on the same playing field and on the same understanding that your personal life stays outside the professional where it doesn't affect all the other stuff do their job. Well, just right, but just the fact that you being too affectionate has been a little bit distracting for the others. So although your performance has been marvelous, I have no doubt about it. It's affecting other people's performances as a team. So it just felt like me personally, it doesn't really have to do outside of work, but let's just try and keep it outside of work and not distract the rest of the also, people have heard because of the relationship that you may give her special preferences over other people, which is just natural, it happens, and I understand. But if you just keep it your personal life separate from I'm sorry, I don't think that's appropriate to, it doesn't really even matter.
Good job.
Right. Well, I mean, obviously these people would want to stay anonymous, which is why they came to me. It's more professional for me to approach you as your supervisor. Resolve it this way.
Are you diverse?
Don't take it personally. Yeah. Yeah. If you feel like you need to have a personal conversation after. Well, sorry. Right. Yeah. Don't feel like you're being put on the spot. I just wanted to address you, a colleague and a supervisor. Forget the first part.
So a couple of things. So I like your inquiries too. Back to who are these? I would like to talk to them so that I can learn more about what they said or what I'm doing, so I can report the behavior. I don't think you address the actual behavior. So that people are right. So you talked about you should know your conversation. You should sort of know what's right and just go ahead and do what's right.
Yeah.
But he said back to you, I don't think that my behavior's changed. So you have to.
Well, no, he said, I don't think my performance has changed. Not behavior. Like.
Yeah, say my performance.
Yeah, like your performance in the job.
I changed.
Yeah, so either way, his attitude back towards you is sort of providing preferential treatment. So I think if you try it again, just try to address the fact that maybe that's your goal. It would be helpful if you were more on the question. If you could try to be more aware of how you're interacting with Susie and how Mark is being observed by others. Yeah, just try to be more aware of your behavior and how people are observing you, because perception is reality, and if people think you're providing treatment, then they will act in that manner. So just, so I don't know what corrective action or behavior is supposed to be in the meeting.
Well, it was more like an FYI. Like there are complaints. It just says like talk to Chris about the fact that people are feeling uncomfortable and giving Susie and how they were feeling uncomfortable. it's kind of just like, I just kind of adjusted rather than corrective action was more like, hey, like, keep your private life separate from your work life.
Well, yeah, I think so. I hear where you're coming from. So when I enter a difficult situation like this, any of the difficult situations, it doesn't really matter what it is. I try to figure out how, this is just a personal view, how I can offer 2 or 3 solutions to the problem rather than choose how it is to go about it. Or we could just basically say, hey, somebody thinks you're a jerk. It's like, that doesn't really what are you supposed to do with that other than walk away feeling right?
Yeah.
So, hey, so-and-so thinks you're a jerk. I can't tell you, or, you know, or 3 people in the office think you're a jerk. I like that they said what kind of behaviors that they're sort of, that their complaint is triggered from, and maybe pay more attention to those behaviors. Right? Don't talk so much about your boat. So when you go out on your boat, you can talk about the great fun you had with your family, not the water. Because I know you want to tell people about what you did this weekend and everything, right? So it's just, that is sort of, it's always the approach I take to any complex scenario. How do I give the person that I'm basically telling about you?
I guess I feel like
How do I give them something?
I don't feel like
that they
what you were after. I mean, I know you're after, but it's not like
You have to talk to me because my coworkers think I stink.
well, you started out, and then at the end it was kind of like, all right. Go to my
Somebody has come to you to talk about my personal hygiene. Really?
There's not that.
Why is this so funny? No, it's hilarious.
Yeah, unfortunately, they came this morning. It's not the first time. Situations. You was
Sorry, Jamie.
I don't know. Well, I don't have that. I don't work with you that. It's two employees came to me this morning. It's been a couple of weeks.
Just seems like a really mean thing to say. I mean, who are these 2 jerks?
Well, I can say names.
I think the way I would do this,
it's not appropriate.
like, hey Jamie, you do such a great job for us. I have to have a
Well, why don't you
conversation.
spend some time with me over my cubicle? That's a little uncomfortable. It just got just ridiculous. Maybe they just don't like the curry that I eat.
I mean,
Can I talk to these 2
Hey, I'm Indian over here, okay?
we don't have to go. Well, I can do that. I can spend the next few days and see if I have something more personal.
Yeah, because I don't think it's a problem. I mean, I have a shower in my house and I walk past it on my way to work.
Definitely, well, it's something that you need to be aware of. Take the coworkers for one. So just keep it like that and quiet. All right.
Okay. Yeah. I don't know how to sandwich it.
There's no thanks, I guess.
Sort of. So go back in my smelly cute. Draw it out. It's super cute. By the way.
The only observation was you mentioned like, is there something going on at home, like anything wrong, like going on in your personal life? I kind of wish you expanded on that a little more and kept that in focus, because I feel like when you said you would be able to offer solutions, it's like you're bringing up the topic, but on a more concerned note, like making sure you're
I'm sorry we had this conversation.
your mental well-being.
I think you should have an opinion as to whether or not I see. Because if you don't think I see,
Well, he's a manager, so he's obligated to come in.
no, it's not. It's never obligated. Just because you send me an email doesn't mean you have to send me a response. Just because two people came to complain to me, that doesn't mean
It's difficult for them to work and see.
those complainers might say that, but is their complaint actually valid? If their complaint's not valid, they need to become valid.
That's why you asked me to
Valid.
to you. Yeah, to validate and confirm.
No, but he wants validation of what his smell is from you.
Prior to you just observing. Like you almost don't want.
Or I guess during this meeting when you asked him, like, do you think I smell? And you were like, no,
I'll probably, yeah, but I'm not.
it's like
I would say it's really good for sure saying, I'm trying to give it a thought right now. What I'm going to say is that
We should have practiced here right away.
very welcome to and so you did accomplish.
I'm sure I know.
That's my biggest.
oh, maybe he could have been like, why don't you take a few days off?
He's giving you enough, he's going to make his own personal observation and spend extra time with me, so he's got that opportunity over the course of the week to
Okay. I think there is another plausible option that you can investigate this further and realize that you have. It's a lot of extra work for yourself. Realize it's an opportunity there to not even personally or emotionally say this is a problem.
Yeah, he lingers.
I agree, get rid of the two damn complainers. I think through observation, he's got the opportunity to say, did you wear those pants yesterday? Did you go to the gym this morning? Or maybe you went to the gym at lunch? Came back? He's got no solution to offer me now other than people think their hygiene's poor. Do you need me to give you a book on how to
I feel like you got to be firm on it. There is for
But I think you can play particularly about having an opportunity to smell bad. And most they smell like it was in their hair.
This isn't like an indirect.
Coming back, but it was in their hair because they started cooking before they had so they smelled. They want me to go and tell them that yeah, I'm not having a conversation. I should just go back and deal with the fact that good luck to you. Why don't you brush up your resume and work?
But if it's like a versus versus like a bottom order, I feel like one is something that you can definitely control, whereas the other one is like circumstantial.
Yeah, no, I would go and talk to, you know,
Or
they
at
said,
least
hey,
if you order your
goes for a long walk at lunch, comes back, you know, I was done, then go and talk. Here's what I've been told, maybe some suggestions, here's a pencil, maybe a t-shirt, when you walk around, and then you what's irritating you, and, because ultimately they identify so if your coworkers are addressing that, unless they're dirty, if you show up to work and you're dirty, you just don't come in. Good personal hygiene, well, then just.
Yeah, I agree.
Or like as you're walking around there, just spraying.
You know, I worked in a place that had gym, volleyball courts, basketball courts, soccer fields, and it was routine for the accounting department. The accounting department would work a 10-hour day because they play soccer for 70 minutes in the middle of the day. Every day. Yeah, how I mean, they have 15, 16, you know, maybe 9,000 on playing soccer every single 3-4 days a week. So, yeah, you notice I think lower because some guys, you know, shower, a lot of people just getting busy, so they go back to work. Used to have 7 days. You all showed up in t-shirts this afternoon, and now you're all in t-shirts and shorts, which was allowed. It was it's allowed. Clearly it was encouraged when it was basketball players and all the rest of it. But yeah, sometimes they're still in professional. Come to our meetings. Would you mind adhering to sort of our department norm? Schedule those meetings prior. Would never work. Never work. Yeah, I think like I don't like so if you have that's funny but exactly I like
But honestly, like, if someone, like, I guess you have to kind of know the person, like, in your character, you were like, for me, I think I would be offended if it went to management, but I wouldn't mind if someone personally, like, came up to me and was like, hey, or maybe not say it in that sense, but, like, yeah, like, I would actually, like, respect that person for coming to me and telling me something that, like,
okay. So you would respect them all.
instead of going to management. I personally don't go to management about anything. I try and just resolve it.
Culture should have some sort of norm that says you tell your coworker to spinach stuck in their teeth.
Yeah. I tell people all the time. I tell my colleague all the time. She always eats like lettuce and spinach. I'm like, right there again. But it's like I've developed a good enough relationship with those people where I'm like, it's relevant at all. Do you guys?
But let's say somebody that you don't know.
I personally would still say if they had spinach stuck in their teeth. Oh, like if we were having a conversation, I would. But yeah, not if we were just walking by.
No, like,
You're gonna do it? Okay, all right. Alright, why don't you get in position? I've got two chairs set up.
You know, you're normally put together like that's just the back of your shirt.
Well, yeah,
I would kind of go back to the fine. This is great.
All right, so we're going.
Just sort of giving you the heads up. There's toilet paper stuff.
all right, I'm observing.
Right? It's not.
Do you want me up there? Observe or can I observe?
Oh,
Your
yeah.
fly's open. It's like, why are you looking?
This
is so funny.
All right, so we're going to come back together. Hopefully you're pretty much done. We have just one group was finishing up, and they're going to do the last scenario for us to start off our discussion. Maybe you want to go ahead and have a seat. We've got Jamie has an issue that Lei is going to discuss. Lei, you're the initiator?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, you're the initiator. Okay. All right, fantastic. So we'll watch this to start our discussion of debriefing this exercise.
We have
Is that androgynous?
Do we have an observer?
The whole class.
Hold on. Oh my God.
Can you just speak up?
Okay.
We can hear you.
So hi Jamie, how is it going?
Pretty good.
So first of all, I would do this in a very private environment. So, it's great to have you on the team. I have something very personal to talk to you about. It has, when we all have things we need to work on, and it's come to my attention that some people, or it's come to my attention where, it's actually a very touchy subject. So it's the body odor we get from you sometimes, and it's okay. Everybody has, maybe there's a medical or there's something going on, but I just wanted to share the feedback that I've received. And if I were in your shoes, I would like to know. So that's the reason, as your manager, I'm sharing this something with you, and there's nothing to be embarrassed about. But this is something, maybe, have you heard this before?
I've never heard this before, and nobody ever mentioned this to me. I'm surprised this become the issue, and and I'm also very surprised that my colleagues that don't talk to me and it goes to the manager.
Yeah.
So if my order really make people feel bad, I apologize about this, but I'm not happy about the whole process. The people communicate with me.
And that's fair, and I think if I had an issue, a personal observation about something with somebody, I would have gone to that person directly. But I guess, maybe they didn't feel comfortable, but I do see your point. And I think that the good thing is that we both recognize that this is something that you have recognized, and that's come to me as well. So I just wanted to share, if we can take some steps towards that, I think that would be great.
Okay, I think that's, there are many things I can improve.
Yeah.
And, it's, okay, I will give it a try. Next time, if somebody doesn't feel comfortable on that, and then they can talk to me directly.
Right. And I think that's a really good point. And I think, as you move forward, if you have any comments or feedback, do come to me as well. And that's why I'm here. So, yeah. Good.
Okay, that's it.
All right, excellent job. So we'll discuss that, and we'll think about how we approach this and the experience that you all had while you were doing this. So let's start with this as our framework. How effectively was this conversation approached, and was there an effective result? Yeah.
I think the approach was a bit direct at first. I think Lei's reaction seemed very authentic as far as I think that's exactly how someone would react. They would be taken back a little bit. In conclusion, I think there definitely was a mutual agreement to kind of strive to make some changes. but I don't think it was clear how they were gonna make the changes, what, the managers are there to support them, and they kind of outright just said, you smell. Where I know in my scenario, I try to say, we've gotten a few complaints that there's an odor in your area. If there's an odor, if there's something in your desk or your cube, we're absolutely committed to making sure whatever it is that we can support it and get it, taken care of. So I think making it less about the person and more about the situation would be better.
Okay, so that's a good strategy. Make it more general in a sense and less personal. I really commend the way Vishali empathized and made an attempt to connect. Like she said, it's very, very personal, and I so understand how you might feel based on how I would feel in this situation. I thought, even though, to Nick's point, I agree, in some situations, keeping it more professional, keeping it less about a personal feeling and more about this is just plain a rule that we need to adjust. I really like the way Vishali approached it from an emotional intelligence standpoint. So, other thoughts?
In our group, he defended his body odor. He defended his body.
Okay.
So he basically the manager saying, "This is nice your people, why I have this odor,
Okay.
and I'm not going to change anything about myself."
Okay. All right. Yeah, I thought I was thinking when I was hearing this group, David did a great job of defending his body odor as well, defending Jamie's body odor. And I thought about how I might change this question just to make it clear that this is a problem that needs to be changed. And that's what all these scenarios are about. It's about a business problem that needs to be addressed. And how can we use good emotional intelligence techniques to address that business problem?
Ours was still addressed though, but it was addressed, like he explained why. So his wasn't his body odor per se, it was like he had some oils and stuff that he had to use because it was getting
medical reasons?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I had to still use emotional intelligence because he was offended now. And then I had to also come up with a plan to address the issue with the rest of the coworkers now, knowing that he has to do this. Now he's offended by this, and he's like, I might quit the company now because I don't feel comfortable here anymore.
Okay.
That solves the odor issue.
Oh,
That solves the odor issue though.
May not solve the lawsuit issue. But good points. Yeah, those are fantastic points, and that's why one of the reasons why I haven't made this question as specific as that. Daniel.
Yeah, I think Said brings up a good point, because in college we had someone who had a medical condition where his hands sweat too much. All of his sweat glands produced excess, things called like hyperhidrosis or something. And so anytime he would be wearing a dress shirt, you just see his pits. Like, for him it'd be embarrassing, but when people approach him about it, they would never think that it was a medical condition.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think it's good to practice emotional intelligence and asking, have you experienced some type of medical condition, or is this something that's come up in the past? Or trying to tiptoe around it before you kind of plan.
Absolutely. Right.
So I'm thinking about the situation, like the same scenario. If the initiator's approach is not perfect and get the very defensive feedback right away, so what's the next?
Okay. So the receiver is defensive right away. You still need to use good emotional intelligence. You can't say, all right, I messed that up because I didn't use the right technique, or maybe they're just really offensive. What do you do at that point when the receiver is just defensive right off the bat? Shruti.
Make your intentions known.
Yeah, sure. Make your intentions known. This is not personal. This is the way I'm trying to address a business problem. Now, Mike and Ricky, how would you address that if the initiator or receiver is defensive right off the bat?
Go ahead.
What I'm trying to think is, okay, if he's being defensive, maybe I would be like, okay, it's nothing personal. Maybe go and say, okay, I don't know about saying my intentions, but be like,
how you mentioned it, it's a business decision, it's, you know,
Business problem, yeah.
business problem, which we have to resolve, and you being on the defensive side isn't gonna help. So let's work it out, you know, if you don't agree, why you don't agree, because there are all these people who are agreeing to it, and we definitely feel there's a problem.
Great strategy. So maybe this intention versus impact issue comes into this. So the person who is defensive, maybe they don't feel like they're being defensive, but they're creating an impact where they are. And they're like, why are you messing with me? Shruti.
You probably lessen the impact by downplaying how serious it is. It's not really a serious, big reason. But this is, you know, it's a very small thing, you know, it's a silly thing, but, you know, I still have to address it, blah, blah, blah. And, you know, make it feel like it's not a big deal, and they will not, you know, they won't get as offended as they might have if you said, I have a business reason to discuss this with you or whatever it is, you know what I mean?
Good strategy. Good strategy. Definitely, I have seen folks get into trouble with that strategy sometimes if it turns into a situation where this is not a problem that needs to be addressed. And they just end the conversation with, okay, all right, thanks for mentioning that to me. Mary?
Like Nick offered me solutions, like just gradual steps to kind of, let's just try this first and then this, and once we get rid of the other odors, then it would come down to whether it's really me. And then he offered his personal email, if you want to talk after this, you know, it's creating, you know, it's a, did you say distraction? Something like that.
Yeah.
And with your work group, so let's see if we can just ease out of this distraction, and so everyone can be comfortable. He very personable, and he just seemed like he wanted to really listen to me.
Yeah, so I hear two things in what Marilyn's saying. One is he had a good process, and two, he cared about me. I think that's what it comes down to. Good process, and he cared about me, empathized. He understood where I was coming from, understood my emotional position, and was able to relate with me in a way that drew you to him. Did anyone have any thoughts or experiments with the questions versus statements aspect of this? Did anyone find themselves causing someone to go into emotional hijack with a strong statement, and they thought, oh gosh, I should have used a question? Anyone work with that during this exercise?
Yeah.
James?
At the beginning of the first one with the sales guy and the team members, instead of me directly stating, we have a problem here regarding your relationship or with two of the different sales team leads, they're saying, it was recommended by Dan that I ask, so what's going on with the sales situation? Why are the numbers down? And letting the person who's being questioned kind of set the ground for, explain what's going on, and at least offer up his position before you start saying there's an issue.
Fantastic. I like that strategy as well. Navanya?
So the same thing happened with us in the first scenario. He was the initiator, and all of it was mostly questions from his side, which
Okay.
gave me a lot of chance to explain.
Okay.
So at a point, as the observer, he felt like there was a little bit of emotion when he started to say that, can I meet with you and your two sales reps? And I was very defensive about him not meeting anybody. I said, let me solve the problem before getting them to you. So if he had posted a sentence saying, yeah, I need to meet with them, I would have probably...
Just even the way you say that, just makes me like,
Yes,
gets here.
he asked it as a question. He said, can I meet with them? Will it be okay? But do you want to meet? So that was, I thought, was a good strategy that helped me a bit.
Okay, fantastic. So good strategy with questions. Let's keep going. Everyone's okay to keep going just a little while longer, right? We don't need to get a break. We're just got a little bit more, and then we'll go. Let's do a couple of these scenarios as a class, and that will just provide more of a forum for us to continue discussing, and maybe if there's some things you thought of that you did during your small group work, or you thought this really worked well or didn't work, you can bring that up at the same time. Let's just do 2 more scenarios as a class, and we'll think about this just with that frame. So let's take a look. Let's do the Rutgers Business School team problem one. This may be a scenario which you all have encountered. so you are an MBA student at Rutgers Business School, and you have worked on several team projects with the same group of students in your finance class. One team member, Alex, does not seem to be contributing as much as everyone else. Alex did the bare minimum for the first project and promised to contribute more for the second project. Although Alex did put in more effort in the second project, the work was not completed on time or in the correct format. So you and the others needed to step up at the last minute to complete this project. You're now about to begin the third and final class project, and you would like to talk with Alex about improving the quality of the work and submitting it to the team ahead of time. You're worried that Alex will get defensive when you suggest that the quality will be improved because Alex put in a lot of effort last time, and you are also afraid to tell that Alex will think you're being unreasonable if you suggest that the work be submitted ahead of time. But your grade in the class is important, and you need to talk with Alex. All right, can we have a volunteer to play Alex? All right, excellent. And a volunteer to play the manager, or not the manager, yes, Jim, fantastic.
So Alex, we got the assignment back, and we're a little bit concerned. We only got an 80% on it, and so when we started looking at this assignment, we found that a lot of the errors were in the sections that you completed. And I definitely understand that we're all here to learn, and I also really appreciate the improvement in effort and quality of work you did over the last assignment. But we're getting a little bit concerned that for this third assignment, we're going to end up with another 80%. I mean, we can't have that. Our tuition reimbursements depending on our grades. Joe is very concerned that if he doesn't get an A, he's going to not graduate with honors. So we want to find some ways to maybe improve our grade in this assignment. We were discussing some options, and we really got it as a team member. What we were wondering is if you would be on board with maybe completing your work a little bit earlier, getting it to us a day or two ahead of time, maybe a week ahead of time, and then this way we can go over it together as a group. Maybe help you understand anything that you're not sure about. We don't want you to feel like you're going about this on your own, and that the pressure is really on you to struggle through it and get it 100% correct. And we're here to help you. We're a team. We just want to make sure that we get an A in this third and final project.
Well, it's not like the only things that were wrong with the paper were wrong in my section.
We agree.
So why are you singling me out here?
Well, so we've gone through and we've looked through all the things that are wrong. I know that there was a pretty big error in my section, and it's because I submitted the wrong file. I submitted an older version, so I'm going to take steps to correct this. We know that in Joe's section, he misspelled some very important words, like unacceptable for an MBA level class. So we figured we're going to pass the paper around to everybody to be proofread ahead of time. And so part of this effort to get the work in earlier and get a better grade is going to be making sure that other team members get to review everything ahead of time, so that if there are any questions, any problems, we can bring them to light, we can work them out together. And we just want to know that you're on board with getting your work in ahead of time so that we can file it earlier, get a head start, and ensure that we all get the grade that we really deserve for this class.
I think it's perfectly fine if the rest of you want to do a bunch of extra work and proofread. I get a B, I move on, I keep on going. I put in the effort that I think is acceptable. Why don't the rest of you do your work early and make sure your parts are fine? I'll turn it 80%, and like mathematically with 4 of us, right? You guys ought to get the 92 you want. What's the big deal?
The problem is that we're all on the hairy edge, and if we repeat the performance on this last paper, even with the improvements, we're still not going to get the grades that we need. I mean, are you a little bit concerned that maybe some of your other team members might not get their full tuition reimbursement? I mean, there's a financial impact.
There might be you, but I got a life. I mean, I'm trying to make it through this course the best I can. How you pay for it or don't pay for it is sort of your problem.
I understand that, that's valid, and that's why we want to give you an opportunity to let us help you out, maybe to ease that burden a little bit so that you don't need to sit and
I'm
struggle
good.
through
I'd
this to
pay,
the
I'd
last
pay
minute.
the professor several $1,000s so he could instruct me. I really think that it's fine. You know, I turned in my stuff. So if you want me to turn it in a day or so early, and somebody's got a concrete plan to actually give feedback in time that I can do something with it within my life, great. If I'm going to turn the stuff in, you're going to give me corrections at 6 o'clock on Sunday. I can't do anything with that. I have other things happening.
So that's why I think it's very important for you to turn it in earlier, because we can give you more time to correct those
So
problems. Or
are we all finishing our parts earlier to put it together?
we
Or
want to
not
compile,
finishing?
we want to compile the report a week early. And you getting us your part of this assignment a week early is the only way we're going to be able to do that. If you were to give it to us a day earlier, we're still going to be far behind our deadlines and create more stress for everybody. And if there's any problems that come up, now we're all end up going to fix it. So I think this is the best solution for everybody. It's in your best interest. You're going to get the grade that you actually deserve. It's going to ensure that everyone gets their full tuition reimbursement. It's going to ensure that Joe gets to graduate with honors. And none of us are going to be stressed at the last minute trying to compile this paper.
It sounds like a lot of problems for you guys. Not necessarily. So if what you're saying is this time we're going to complete the first draft of the paper a week before it's due so that we can go through and make corrections, I'm fine with that, right? I'm part of the team. But if you say you're going to spend a lot of time critiquing my individual work, then it sounds like you should fix that then.
We want to we want to critique each other's work. And so it's almost not fair for us to be critiquing the first 3 sections if the 4th section is going to get submitted at the last minute. So allow us to help you, to ease that burden, to take this weight off your shoulders and get the grade that we truly deserve. Help me help you.
I hear you. Why don't we put together a plan and talk about this with the rest of the group? And then maybe if the group has another side meeting, which discuss whether or not I'm pulling my own weight, I can be in that conversation.
We don't even need to have that meeting. What we'll do is we'll put together an email, and it'll basically outline a timeline of when everyone's going to get their schedule. Are you going to stop this?
I think both of you can.
Good. Excellent.
Keep them out of your finance groups.
Well, there was one reason I wanted to let it go a little longer is there's one thing that happened right at the end. Did you hear what he brought up about the side meeting with the others? So that may have been the real thing that he was annoyed at. And if Jim could have addressed that, say, oh, I understand, that may have opened him up a little bit. Maybe not, because he was just intent on being such a jerk. and he did it well. All right, but I think
the
Jim,
lazy guy's being lazy on purpose. Because we've all had that guy in our group. We just don't do the work because they don't have to. The other 3 people are going to turn it in because they need to pass. Don't do anything. And
all right, so David played that role really well. How did Jim do in approaching that person? Ruthie.
One thing I noticed is I think he did a great job. However, it's just starting right off the bat saying we feel, it made him feel singled out. And it implied that they had a meeting without him, discussed about him, and now he's the messenger from the team. And anyone would be defensive at that point. And so just not say we and just be like, hey, I want to talk about something, and I want to say this to the team as well. We're all trying to get deadlines set, have responsibilities set, so we're not, starting last minute or long.
Yeah.
Instead of saying we feel.
Yeah. And maybe David even gave us that clue at the end. We might even say that Jim's well-reasoned argument, approach, and logic, and it was very well-reasoned, great approach, seemed to take a lot of effort, was completely derailed by one statement. Other thoughts? Al?
I thought it was a great strategy, but one piece that I would have added in is to get to the underlying cause and see if you could find out why the work was late, and was there any problems, empathize, and say you've been there before, and see if you can get to the bottom of it.
Great. Nick?
I've dealt with people like that at both work and school, and I find the best way to do, and I think he was even hinting to it like he wanted it, is what's the problem? What's the plan? What are you asking me? You know, and I think as the person approaching him, I would have said like, look, last time we had a paper, it was 2 weeks early. What do we got to do? You have my commitment to support. You know, what do we got to do to get it in a week earlier? And then you kind of give them the, you know, can we get your commitment to just get it in a week earlier? I think when he started going in about you have to care about everyone in the group, it made him even shut down like.
That's a good
Yeah,
point.
I'm jealous that I work for a small company and they don't give me money for school, like all the J&J folks. Your tuition reimbursement.
Yeah, I think like what's the action? What's the plan? What do you need from me? You needed 2 weeks. You needed 1 week. You needed 3 days, and just say, here's what we need. Here's the plan. What do we got to do to get you to get in?
These are great comments. And so we're thinking about getting at the root thing that might be making him mad. And Emily brought this up earlier, the root thing that was driving her belief about Trump or the ethics of that. So if we can't address that, then we have little hope of addressing the problem. And the problem can be exacerbated by the fact that that is unknown. We have all sorts of impact that creates in a difficult conflict type of environment. Shruti.
And also like sort of make it seem that the expectation is the same for everybody. It's not just you who have to turn it in 1 week earlier. And he said you addressed that afterwards. Like we're all doing our part, but say that beforehand before you got defensive. You know, like this is a plan we all are trying to agree to do. You know, you're not the one who should submit it a week earlier, and you're not the only one that has all these things in their sections or whatever it is.
I think he said that though. I think
He
you addressed both those points.
He did, but Shruti's saying if he could have addressed that before you got angry.
I did it at the very end, like, because I guess I didn't anticipate how you were going to react.
Yeah, and this is tough. All right, people get their feathers ruffled for any number of reasons, and we need to be able to respect, understand, and address that if we're going to solve this problem from a business standpoint. Say.
That's a common question. It's about the tone. Like the approach was more almost like he was a supervisor's boss guidance him, and you know, I know that gives you authority to say something, but there's also the whole other approach. Even starting with a question allows you to have that more like we're friends and let's have just a conversation. So like if he started with, hey man, did you see the grade that came back? Like, you know, I was surprised how low we got or something. And then make it so that we're just chatting. So I guess my question comes is like, when do you want to come with that more professional tone and like, I'm talking to you and I'm talking with you?
Okay, all right, so let's discuss that in a minute. First, let me ask you, Dave, how did that feel when you were approached? Were you approached like you were being talked down to, and did that affect the way you responded?
Well, after a couple of sessions, it sort of felt like you picked the short straw in the group, and so you were forced to have the conversation with me. Because it's you're right, it's an uncomfortable topic, right? So the rest of us feel you're not pulling your weight. And so I have to assume I know I turned in the paper late, that I didn't meet the commitments and my sections were wrong, right? So I get why you're having the conversation. I don't care about why I turned it in like that, right?
Okay.
So I understood. So I thought he was just nervous about having the conversation. I didn't feel like this was sort of. I could see how you could say that he's sort of like a supervisor, subordinate kind of tone, but I didn't really see that. I just thought it was the politest way he could say, stop being lazy.
Okay.
You're
So,
talking to all
all right.
of us?
So some people saw it as kind of a talking down to type of situation. This is definitely something we want to be aware of. It turns out in this situation, David didn't feel that way. It's fluid. Sometimes it can produce negative results. Sometimes it's fine. Or I guess I might not even say it was fine in this case. There was something wrong with the way he was approached. Jim.
So I think it's like a good thing. I guess I'm in the mindset of having these sorts of discussions as like a supervisor subordinate kind of thing. But I get very put off by someone who would approach me trying to be very friendly, because my immediate thought is, you want something? We're not friends. What are you doing and why are you talking to me? It's like if I go to like a car dealer, right? And the guy walks up and he's like, oh, hey, what's going on? Like, I know your only intention is to sell me a car, so don't try and be my friend. Answer my questions, give me the test drive, and then we'll talk about a price. Like, I don't need a friend out of this endeavor. I need a car. And so the same thing with this situation is like, I don't need another friend. I've got 2 other group members who I'm good with. I need a passing grade, or I need the A, or whatever it is. So it's almost like it was difficult for me to not just take a very direct approach and just try and get what I need, because like we're driving a bus and you can either get on or you can find another group. Like I don't really know what else to do. Right? Like,
All right, good points. And that makes me think of something that we've seen a number of times, is that everyone is different. And everyone has a different preferred style. One thing is going to upset someone, one thing is not. Or the same thing with a different person is not. So we need to be careful about how we approach. We need to read that person, just like we did when we were doing the status card game. Read that person as an individual. Not go into an emotional hijack situation yourself just because your first strategy didn't work. And think about how you can come at that person with a different strategy. All
We're
right.
gonna see him twice more before the project's due, so.
You're going to have 2 more shots at it. All right, Emily?
I was thinking I would approach each of these scenarios with the same kind of formula or something. Like all these scenarios are about somebody else says something about the person you need to talk to. And that's why you have to bring them in to have this conversation. So every single one of these, I would say, start out kind of in a chatty way, address the problem saying, hey, I noticed this. And then ask them, did you notice this? Or what do you what do you think might be going on here? And then let them come up with the problem themselves, and then automatically you guys are working as a team, you're finding the solutions together, and you can steer them towards like what you want out of them in the end. But any other way, like telling them the problem, they have to be defensive at that. Telling them that somebody else told you about the problem, they have to be doubly defensive about that. So, yeah, that's how I think about it.
I think that's fantastic. If you can approach that in a sincere way, I actually want your input. I want you to tell me how sales in your district are going. I don't have some agenda where I'm going to say something else. I'm just waiting for you to answer. I think if you can approach those with questions in a sincere way like Emily describes, fantastic. Al?
So I agree completely. I mean, we're talking about having difficult conversations, and what's the way to make it less difficult and less painful? So it's easy when it's a superior talking to a subordinate. You don't have to kind of sugarcoat things. But if it's peers, and if you can diffuse the situation first, or have them come up with the solution, I think it just makes the difficult conversation a little easier to have.
Great points. Great points. All right. Nick.
I was just gonna mention one point, I think in I think in a business setting, in a scenario where you have kind of a third-party mediator, I think there's going to be problems people can solve kind of one-on-one, and then there's going to be problems that have to be solved just because of HR guidelines and things that you don't want to put yourself at risk by saying or doing something that might be a violation. So you need to have that third party involved. So I think there's some of these issues that we touched on today may not be certain issues that you can walk up to someone and say, hey, Jamie, what's going on?
Okay, all good points. And there's so many different moving parts to this, and I think we discussed a lot of them. We saw a lot of different conversation, different conflict type situations in action, and I hope you got some good practice working on your emotional intelligence skills and something that at least resembled a real life situation. But to Nick's point, of course, there's going to be a lot more to real life situations. But I still think we can take value away from when people get upset, when people get defensive, and what causes that. How can we get at the root issue? How can we adjust? How can we be resilient? Even though our first strategy didn't work as effective as we thought it was in our head, how can we be resilient and go with another strategy even though that one didn't work out? So let's wrap this up and let me explain a couple of things. One, I believe you have an assignment due next week, which is to write an essay in the thesis subheading format about emotional intelligence, explaining, I believe, why emotional intelligence is important in a business setting and how it can be. So we have to. I got my sentence. I want to just mention this for a second because it's a good chance to. Do you have that? emotional intelligence summary. Oh yeah, it's the last page. All right, sorry. And it's due the 20, is that 2 weeks from today? Okay, all right, anyway, I'll still explain it now because we've just done the emotional intelligence stuff. So one thing I love about the thesis subheading format is it allows us to take various subjects, various complicated subjects, and condense it into a clear thesis. The thesis, the subheading, everything can guide your reader into what is the specific, actionable, what is the main point you want to make about this subject. And I think as business students, we always want to do that. We always want to take the clear, actionable conclusions and think about how we can express them as concisely as possible. And I think that is doubly important when we deal with an abstract issue like emotional intelligence. So there's emotions, social management, there's a lot of things that we're not used to quantifying. Let me put it that way. So what I've asked you to do in this is just think about how you can quantify that. How can you say, how can you reflect on why this is useful for individuals who need to communicate effectively in a business environment? Just use the subheading format. Think about the one thesis you want to say. Think about the subheadings you might put that under. You might say there are 3 different ways this is useful in a business environment. You might say there are 3 different components to emotional intelligence, how all those are useful in a business environment. And just use that same format. I graded everyone's written essay. If you did not get a 10 out of 10, please look at those comments carefully. I've tried to guide you on where I think it would be more effective in terms of using the actual format into making your point clearly. And I mentioned last time that this essay lends itself to a certain clarity that makes it easier on your audience. So if I gave you a 10 out of 10, I spent maybe 30 seconds or a minute looking at your essay saying, okay, boom, got all the points, understand it right away. If I didn't give you a 10 out of 10, I spent maybe 20, 30, 40 minutes trying to figure out, okay, where did this get a little bit different, and how can I explain to you, the student, how to express it with more clarity. And I hope that was helpful, so please read those comments if I gave them to you, and ask me questions if you have questions. You can ask me after class, or you can email me, or call me, whatever works for you. But I've asked you to do the exact same format for this emotional intelligence summary. Taking this abstract thing and condensing it down to something clear, specific, valuable. Any questions just on the emotional intelligence summary essay stuff? Yes, Ruth. Less than 1 page for sure. 1 page, yeah. And don't feel the need to go all the way up to 1 page. If you feel you can do it in 2/3 of a page, that's fine. Any other questions? All right, great. So for the next class, next week, we're going to do on-camera stuff. And I think everyone has a role, except there are just 2 details. One, if maybe Saeed, do you have your laptop with you? And Ricky, maybe we can connect, 3 of us can connect on Skype for just like 5 minutes. And we'll get that out of the way. And then I think in terms of roles, Al and Emily, can you 2 maybe get together and come up with an interview topic? And one of you be the interviewer and the other be the interviewee, and do that assignment? Does that work for you 2? Okay. All right, if you want to brainstorm with me for a couple minutes after class, we can do that. And if you feel like that's not the right assignment for you, we can think of something else. I think that's it. I'll see you next week for on-camera stuff. Thanks for your work tonight.
No problem. Thank you.
See you next week, Ricky.
Oh, next week I'm not gonna be here.
Oh, no?
No, that's why I'm trying to do this.
Yes. Who's your partner is. Your partner is Evan. Yes. So you and Evan should talk about the interview you're going to do. You should give him some questions.
Right, because you can have how we gonna illustrate.
And so that's the point, is that you explain it if they can't see it.
Just with graphic.
You gotta explain, cause I looked at the thing. You have to, like, read about what it is and
Nick, did you
how you explain it.
I get it.
If they can't see you. And you're in front of the
Hi.
212. Yeah, I sent you a request, so you should be able to unable to reach. Okay, so you don't have your computer with you, so just.
No, I don't have my computer, but I'll do it from home and when I work.
Okay, yeah, no, call me. Like, try to call me. I'll see if it's a missed call and I'll be able to just. Okay, great. Excellent.
Thank you.
Okay. Not sure how that went. Marilyn, do you have a quick question?
Well, my question was on the graph.
Yeah.
You assume they can't see it, so they're looking at the graph, or?
Good question. So they will see you, they'll see your faces on Skype, and they will have a picture of the graph.
Okay, so it's kind of both, but not like.
You can hold up the graph.
Okay.
Like this if you want.
Okay.
Yeah, you can like put it in front of the camera.
Okay.
I don't know if I recommend that strategy. But you can.
They're just looking at it.
Actually, why don't you do the graph exercise? Would you mind a third partner to help you with the graph?
And his question was, is it a group?
Yes. Why don't you three work together on the graph exercise? So you're going to come up with a method for explaining this graph, and you're going to take turns presenting, or however you want to do it. And yes, okay. So you're good. You're good.
Straight.
Yeah, just
forward.
The very first
It's still like straightforward, but in the question format, and the other one's on
A video or wishy-washy?
Yes, being around that way.
Yeah, that's the only fun.
Okay.
You started marketing more hits?
Oh, say, what's your Skype name?
Yeah. No. There was 4th of July, but I didn't do it.
I went to Virginia.
Is this thing off?
Probably.
No, it's still recording. You got my giant head blocking your camera. And it's probably recording. Can I just...
Yeah, press this.